Okay, so when you hear robots in healthcare, it's easy for your mind to jump straight to science fiction, right? But the truth is, this isn't some far-off future. It's happening right now. Robots are evolving from just being tools to becoming real partners in our health, and it's happening incredibly fast. Today, we're going to follow that journey, all the way from the super precise world of the operating room to the very personal space of our own homes. So what's driving all this? Well, a huge piece of the puzzle is simple economics. Now you look at these numbers and think, wait, they're pretty similar. And you're right, that upfront cost for a robot is significant. But that's not the whole story. A human caregiver provides that essential, irreplaceable, compassionate touch, but they work in shifts. A robot, on the other hand, could potentially offer support 24/7. That difference alone is a massive force, pushing this technology forward. So here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to kick things off in the operating room, then we'll see how these robots are climbing the ladder of autonomy. After that, we'll jump to the next big frontier, home care. We'll ask what people actually want from these things, and then wrap up with the big challenges of building this robotic future. All right, Section 1, robots in the operating room. These machines have been bringing incredible precision to surgery for decades, but what's happening now is totally different. We're entering a new era of intelligence. And this didn't just happen overnight. It all started back in the 90s with what was basically a fancy camera holder. Then, the early 2000s gave us the Da Vinci system, which was a game changer, letting surgeons control robotic arms with pinpoint accuracy. But look at what's happened since 2015, a huge surge in new systems. And the key difference is they're shifting from being just tools to becoming active partners in the surgery itself, which of course begs the question, how autonomous are they really getting?
That brings us perfectly to Section 2, climbing the autonomy ladder. To really cut through all the hype, researchers have a framework to figure out how smart a robot really is. It's called LASER. That's Levels of Autonomy in Surgical Robotics, and it helps us understand the huge difference between a simple robot assistant and a true robot surgeon.
The vast majority of surgical robots out there today are at level 1 robot assistants. Think of it like this. The robot is the world's steadiest, most precise puppet, and the surgeon is the master puppeteer. Every single move is directly controlled by a human. In fact, it's pretty staggering. A review found that 86% of the 49 new surgical robots cleared by the FDA since 2015 are still in this category.
Now, level 2 is where it starts to get really interesting. This is task autonomy. Here the surgeon can actually program the robot to do one specific thing all by itself, like making a perfectly straight cut or drilling a hole with a precision that's basically superhuman. The surgeon is still in charge, still supervising, but for a moment, the robot is executing the task on its own.
And that brings us to the absolute cutting edge of what's possible today. Level 3, conditional autonomy. At this level, a robot can take a patient's CT scan, for instance, and then plan and carry out parts of the procedure based on that data. This is as high as it gets, folks. It's the highest level of autonomy the FDA has approved so far. There are no level 4 or level 5 robots out there yet, so that idea of a fully autonomous robot surgeon, well, that's still in the realm of science fiction. For now.
So this big push towards making robots partners isn't just happening in hospitals. And that's our cue for Section 3, the next frontier, home care. But here, the challenge totally changes. It's less about surgical precision and more about something way more personal and, honestly, way more complicated, social connection and just helping out with daily life. So why the big push into our homes? It really comes down to this idea that researchers call the care gap. As we all live longer, the gap between what we need to be able to do to live on our own and what we can actually do, well, that gap gets wider. For generations, human caregivers have filled that gap, but with fewer resources available, we're now looking to technology to help step in. And this technology is really heading down two distinct paths. On one side, you've got your service robots. These are the practical ones, built for physical jobs like cleaning, reminding you to take your medicine, or helping you get around. But on the other side, you have social robots. Their job is all about emotional and cognitive support, being a companion, making conversation, or even acting like a little robotic pet to help fight loneliness. Okay, the tech is cool, I get it. But here's the million-dollar question. What do the actual people who would use these robots think about all this? And that takes us to Section 4. What do humans want? Researchers went out and actually talked to older adults and their families to find out what they're truly hoping for and what they're afraid of. And a huge theme that came up over and over was this fear of losing control. This quote just says it all, doesn't it? It's this deep worry that the robot isn't a helper, it's a spy. Who's looking at the data it collects? Is my son or daughter checking in on me through it? It's a really profound question about privacy and autonomy right in your own home.
But, and this is so important, for every fear of being watched, there was this incredible, deep-seated hope for connection. This person didn't see a machine. They saw a potential friend, a universal companion to fight back against the kind of isolation that can be absolutely devastating.
So if we're going to make this work, there are some major hurdles to clear. The ethical questions around data and control are massive. Then there are the practical fears. What if it costs a fortune? What happens if it breaks? And maybe most important of all, you can't just drop a robot into someone's living room and walk away. People said they need a slow introduction, with a human there to help build trust and learn how to, well, live with the machine.
Okay, this brings us to our final section, building a robotic future. As we've seen, it doesn't matter if you're in an operating room or a living room. The fundamental challenge is exactly the same. How do you design a machine that can be a true, trusted partner for a human being?
Back in the surgical world, one of the biggest worries for regulators is this tricky thing called predicate creep. Here's how it works. A company gets a device approved. Then they make a small update, and another, and over time, all those tiny little changes can add up to a robot that's way more autonomous and complex than the original, all without ever having to go through a brand new, top-to-bottom safety review. It's a real concern.
And in the world of home care, the message from users was absolutely crystal clear. It has to be about person-centered design. The secret isn't building one single perfect robot for everybody. No way. The secret is building a platform that can be customized to you, your needs, your personality, your comfort level. A one-size-fits-all robot is just doomed to fail.
Which leaves us right here, with this one final, incredibly important question. Whether it's the surgeon telling a robot where to cut, or an older person choosing what their robot companion does for them, the central issue is the same. As these powerful machines become our partners in health, who, or what, is ultimately in control?